Welcome to Bravo's Garage. Just curious, I've got enough videos out there now with enough people responding to things that they're starting to ask questions. And it's interesting how when you watch videos and you're watching what somebody is doing, you're also looking at their surroundings, their environment. I guess you're trying to identify or figure out a little bit more of who they are, what they do, what they have. That's what I've experienced over the past couple of 3 or 4 years. People have watched videos that I produce and they notice things in the background like tools and other things and ask questions about them. The two things that I get asked the most questions about are, number one, my milling machine, and the other one, curiously, is this air dryer that I've got set up on this compressor. I made comments before that I have dry air, and it's cool dry air. And I've had several questions about what I did to set this up and how efficient it was. And of course I can show anybody how it's set up. I mean, it's real simple. But I never knew how efficient it was. So this time, when I rebuilt this oilless air compressor right here, and that was quite an adventure, I decided to go ahead and do a set of videos, or a couple of shots of videos, on just the efficiency of how this thing works as an air cooler. I knew it was a good dryer because in the 6 or 7 years that this thing has been set up like this, I have yet to have any problem with any water moisture getting into any air tools, even paint sprayers. And I hadn't realized it, that I hadn't drained this tank in all the time that this thing has been set up. So when I was getting ready to rebuild this compressor head, I wanted to measure the temperature differential in all the lines, where they go, and what temperature the air was when it came back in the tank, but also how much water had been collected in this thing over the years that this thing has been running. I didn't get a drop of water out of it. I was a little surprised that I didn't get, maybe just a little bit, but when I opened up that drain in the bottom, shook the tank, nothing came out. So I knew I had a good system for drying the air. The thing I didn't know is how efficient it would be at reducing the temperature of the air going into the tank. So I did a temperature test looking at different places along the air trail before it gets into the tank, before I rebuilt the head. And then I did it again after I rebuilt the head to see if there was any difference. Because before I rebuilt this head, this compressor would take about 20 minutes from tank being empty to charging it up to where it would shut off at 135 psi. Once I finished rebuilding the head, it took 7 minutes. 7 minutes and 40 seconds, 7 minutes, 45 seconds, something like that. So it took 3 times as long before I rebuilt the head to fill this tank up. So I recovered all of the CFM that this tank is supposed to have, and I'm tickled to death about that. So anyhow, there'll be 2 sections. One of them will show the temperature of all the air at all the different places before I rebuilt the head, and the second section will be redoing that test showing the temperature of the air every way after I rebuilt the head. So, strangely enough, there wasn't much difference at all. I don't think there was actually any difference. So, anyhow, that's where we are. Okay, now (235 degrees) at the output of that, and 83 degrees going into the tank. (175, 108, or 215) going into the first water trap, and that goes into the condenser right there. It's 100 and, it's got to be hotter than that. (135), and then coming out of it, 89, where it goes into the tank. 83. And what's the temperature in here right now? About 80. I'd say that's not too bad. Dramatic difference in the time that it took that thing to charge up. The temperature didn't change. I cleaned all this crap off of this condenser here so we could see a little bit better how that thing works. Come out of the compressor head, goes through a copper wire up through this first water trap. And you can see that one right there is dripping because it's raining out right now. Okay, if we go into that condenser right there, we're at 115. Coming out of the condenser, 82. Oh, I got that gum flash on. Now, that might make more sense. What do you think? Are we successful?